Hello humans and other species. I'm Batsy, and today we are going to start building the industrial area. We are going to make a cobble generator based on my own design. And I also have probably my most inspired idea for a workstation. So buckle up, because soon we are going to find out if I'm a genius, or I go completely insane and fail at it. Alright, I have prepared some materials to start building the industrial perimeter. I'm mostly interested in making it all slab so no mobs spawn in there regardless of the light. Also because the perimeter happens to be in the middle of the ocean. But no, we aren't going underwater this time. The ocean is so deep, and the first layers of caves should be flooded, so the lack of mob spawns should help with the performance. I have an idea actually. Let's hop back really quick to the main world. Oh yeah, this is more than enough. We kinda need something to place the first block on, so what's better than raising some kelp? I basically want to make a layer of stone slabs because it's cheaper, and have another layer of stone bricks on top to prevent mob spawns. It's just so we don't fall into water instantly if we break a block. And the platform is going to be based on this thing, the chunk loader. I think the other one might say the radius of it. Well, it doesn't say, but regardless, it's a 5x5 chunk loader at max speed. We're allowed to use chunk loaders in the industrial server, so my plan is to make a perimeter big enough for 2 of these maybe. That would be a 5x10 area, which I'm pretty sure that should be enough. But making a platform is not that interesting, so while we build, I wanted to clarify a couple of confusions that I saw in the comments from last episode. I saw one comment asking why removing backpacks in the first place, or why restricting myself with the barrels and all of that. The answer to that is simple. It's basically enjoyment. I love logistics. I love having to figure out how to move items, how to sort them, how to store them. All of those things is really fun to me. The only reason I don't like it in vanilla that much is because it's more prone to break, especially when unloading the area wrongly. For me, mods like drawers, especially in combination with storage mods like Tom's, remove so much need for logistics and makes things so simple that as consequence, it removes a lot of the fun I have in the game. I totally understand people who really don't care and would rather slap a storage mod and be done with it as fast as possible, but I'm quite the opposite. I like that play style. So that answers why restricting myself in the first place. I just want to make sure I have the most fun, even though it's not going to affect the videos all that much if I do one thing or another. The second confusion I saw was someone mentioning why certain things and not others. This one is really easy. It all goes down to what I find fun and what I don't. Simple as that. Some features and mods I think they are cool because I think so. But there are other mods that I don't like, and sometimes there isn't even a solid reason why I don't like it. It's like using cogwheels. I honestly don't like using them all that much. Why? Because I just don't. I'm not sure if there is a deeper reason. The last confusion I saw was talking about the immersion. One comment talked about realism, and another mentioned the lack of immersion in other aspects of the server. I want to make this very clear. When I was talking about immersion, I'm not talking about the game being realistic. I'm talking about, for me specifically, having mechanics that allows me to immerse myself in this Minecraft world, which might be different than what someone else would like, and it might not even be realistic at all. Something like free cam isn't immersive for me, and it has nothing to do with realism, because I love replacing the mod with this silly bamboo flyer thingy, and that is by far not realistic in any capacity. But the bamboo flyer is a lot more immersive for me, and it feels cooler to use. While the second part of the confusion was about lack of immersion in certain areas. I thought that was clear, but the server was made for my supporters. I set some limits, and I try to keep the server within certain boundaries. But even then, I try to always go a little bit outside my boundaries to give them the experience that they prefer. That means that many features I honestly don't like or don't care about all that much. Keep inventory, for example. It's not immersive, but that's what my supporters want, and I allow them to have that in the main world only. With that, I mean to say that the point of this experiment is to figure out how much I can make a parallel pack that alters the gameplay without affecting anyone else in the server. But that of course has limits, and sometimes I'm just stuck using the same mechanics as the rest. Maybe because there is no way of changing that for one person only, and sometimes because there might be a way, I just don't know how. Those are more or less the confusions I saw from last episode. Those comments obviously don't bother me, but I don't want to give the wrong expectations towards what the project is about. Hopefully now it's a bit more clear on what I'm working on and why I'm working on it.
3 days later.
I can't believe this took me so long to build. Nah, I'm joking. It actually took me like an afternoon to generate this much cobble, and maybe an hour to place it down. It wasn't too bad. I have been quite busy though. There was stuff I had to fix in the server, and even now I just came back from the doctor. Quite busy indeed, but there is progress to be done though. I thought about the workstation I want to make, and that's going to require several episodes, so what I want to tackle first is the power plant. Of course we're going to need some power to start this project. I have been doing some resource gathering while I had some spare time, and I reckon we should be set to make a double T9 steam engine. So let's get to it. This thing won't build itself. The initial plan is to have a couple of T9 steam engines, but we want to eventually expand to maybe 6 or something. That's going to require a good amount of passive power to ensure it's always running, so my idea is to have 8,000 passive stress units. Setting up 4 tiny passive engines is easy, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be more than enough for our needs. I mean, we can always expand the passive engines if we need more, obviously. Funnily enough, the passive engines also need passive power to feed water into them. But a single water will be more than enough for that, which isn't an issue. And if you're wondering why am I encasing the pipes, that's to prevent them from connecting with one another. Otherwise, the middle boilers will receive more water than the rest, and we want even distribution across all engines. We do need a little bit of speed to feed them enough water. So I'm checking with just a big cogwheel, see if doubling the speed of a basic water wheel a couple of times is enough for that. Obviously it's not enough, because you need at least 20 RPM in the pump to feed a T1 passive engine. So at the end I simply went for a speed controller to not make this setup any bigger. Obviously, it's just cheaper to use a couple of small water wheels, since those are faster. And simply add a few cogwheels to reach the desired RPM. I tried adding a barrel on top of the water to make it look like the water is coming from somewhere. What I'm not fully sure about are these trapdoors, to be honest. But anyway, these details can be done later on. There is a big engine to build. At the end, I decided to make a mirrored design at each side of the center of the chunk. I thought that would make the engines look pretty cool. And in case someone hasn't made a T9 engine before, we will require 9 blaze burners for each engine, which means a 3x3. Then we're going to add tanks on top of the burners. So we want another 3x3 of tanks and go up by 4 blocks. The boiler needs to be 4 blocks tall to be big enough for a T9 engine. Even though these engines do require some setup to run, they are honestly quite cheap to make. Leaving aside that by the amount of power they give, they're going to affect our FPS a whole lot less than having a ton of water wheels. The materials are just a bunch of copper with sometimes andesite, wood, and things like that. Copper is the main cost, and the second we get a fortune pickaxe, copper becomes pretty much infinite and easy to find. We do need to feed the burners with some fuel though, and the most efficient way is with lava. Of course, the most simple design is to just have a belt to input the lava buckets and a second one to extract the empty ones. Which only leaves the question of, where are we going to get the lava from? The most simple way is to get a few pointed dripstone to generate lava with cauldrons, but it quickly becomes massive if our lava needs are too high. There is also the chance to make an infinite lava source, which requires a total of 10,000 blocks of lava in the same place. But of course, why make an infinite lava source if there are tons of them in the Nether itself? And that's what we will be doing today, which is going to be a lot more simple than the alternatives, and a lot more simple than it sounds like. I was counting the blocks, and this portal is 14 blocks wide. That's going to be important to set this up properly. Oh, and we're using custom portals. I'm not sure if these dimensions are even possible in vanilla. The first thing I want to do is figure out the direction of the portals. We're going to be shooting buckets back and forth, so we want to make sure they land on the right side. From what I can see, we need items to go from this side towards the engines. So I think I figured it out. Yeah, all right, we end up on this side of the portal. That means that we need to set things up on the side, so they spawn on the boiler side. That's a lot of side, but hopefully it's not too complicated to follow along. Of course, a too wide portal won't do it either. That's why I'm removing the current portal. Knowing the direction, the idea now is to make a replica of the other portal. Exact same height and width. Thankfully, there won't be any more portals around to mess things up, so we only care about the width, to make sure items go through the exact spot we want them to. Or that was the plan until a rude dude with a golden sword decided to kill me. But sure enough, there is the portal. Let's find out if we spawn at the rightmost corner in the overworld. Yes, this is excellent. Oh look. Hey dude, those are my goggles. I didn't know they converted to zombified thingy when crossing the portal. Zombies aside, if the left side also works, we are good to go. Alright, looks like we set it up properly. Like I said though, this would be a lot more complicated if there was other portals around. We would need to get the exact shape and quite precise coordinates, including the height, in the nether side. We were quite fortunate with the location. We have a lava source right there, not far from the portal. Although to be fair, it's not like it's super hard to find lava in the nether, but the location could have been so much worse. Collecting the lava is as simple as using a hose pulley. And we can even use a hand crank to lower it down into the lava. We just need to make sure that it reaches the bottom of the pit. We need a pump to extract the lava with the hose. And since we are using buckets, we will make use of a spout to fill them up. This is a simple but important step since we need to match the locations of the input and the output with the ones at the overworld. But of course it's a couple of belts at the end, just like we did before. This part might be unnecessary, but since we are making a mirrored design in the overworld, I kinda want to match it in the nether too. It's barely going to make this setup more expensive, and it will honestly make the bucket cycle a lot easier later on. Otherwise, there's the risk that we are filling a lane in the overworld that is already filled up, while the other is empty and is still getting half the lava only. If it doesn't make sense, just trust the bat on this one. This is a lot better. Of course, we also need to power this thing up, but nothing that a few water wheels won't fix. I think that 2 of them is enough, but I'm going to be using 4, just in case we want to add more stuff later on. Since water doesn't work in the nether, we will be using some lava to make them spin. Though I do recommend having fire tick off if you don't want your wheels to burn. You know, since they're made off wood and stuff. And wood kinda burns, like a lot actually. We have plenty of power to work with, so we ideally want to run things at max speed in here, and the speed controller is the best choice for it. Both belts and the spout will greatly benefit from it, and of course we don't want any delay on the lava supply. The only important thing in this step is that we need to make sure that the belts match the directions that we have on the overworld. Otherwise, buckets will just loop back and forth and achieve nothing. I was testing the item movement and I came to the conclusion that we need something to block the items so they don't go too far away. I tried with a gold nugget and it basically overshot half the belt. Let's give this thing another try. Hopefully this time it lands on the first block. Yeah, sure enough, that's exactly what we want. The last thing for the side is to set up the filters, and we should be pretty much done. We want the input to be empty buckets, of course, and a lava bucket for the output. Sweet. Well, this side is pretty much done. It looks kinda cool, doesn't it? The water wheels look weirdly cool. I don't usually make water wheels if I can avoid it, but this setup looks kinda funny with the speed controllers and the symmetry. But we will get to that in just a moment because I found out that I have mail. I'm not kidding. Look at this little thing. It has the cute red flag and all. That's so cool. I also seem to have a mysterious box, which I believe is from 𝐋𝐤𝐬𝐬. Well, he told me basically, so it has to be from him. It asks if I can craft the pink scoundrel. Also that no cheating allowed. I assume by cheating he means to not use EMI or I guess Googling or something like that. I'll be honest, I don't really have a clue what a pink scoundrel is. Other than it potentially is pink, and perhaps is a scoundrel, which maybe it's an animal or something. Scoundrel sounds like a ferret. Maybe like a squirrel actually. Scoundrel squirrel. Sounds quite similar to be honest. Leaving aside that my inventory is a mess, the materials aren't too helpful either. I can assume that it involves crafting a bow. In fact, 2 bows by the looks of it. But the redstone and dyes are throwing me off a bit. Mostly the amounts. 9 redstone dust sounds like a lot. And then we have the different amounts of dyes. Alright, so as I said, I'm thinking that this probably needs a bow at some point. And there is enough left to craft a second one, so maybe we combine them later on somehow. Alright, I'm going to craft a redstone block. That's the only thing that makes sense right now. So now the question is, what can be done with this? Iron feels like an obvious choice for a weapon recipe. Oh, here we go. We have a trick bow. Now, can we dye it to make a pink one or something? It doesn't look like it. I have been trying combinations for a while, but I cannot come up with how to craft the second one, other than to craft a normal bow. And nothing I add into the trick bow seems to change it at all, so I imagine that recipe is what it is. I think for now I'm going to craft this one, and leave the rest of the materials for later to think about it. If you have any idea of what a scoundrel is, I wouldn't mind some help in the comments. I mean, the sign said no cheating. It never said anything about asking for help, right? It will be our secret, don't tell them. Now, what do we have in the mail? Oh, so many goodies, that's cool. Feeling nautical? Try this. I guess that's something nautical probably. It says it's for bats. Oh, maybe it's another one of those clothes. More shop proceeds. There is 1 row left in the chest. I imagine that last one might be from my epic electro tube shop. Oh, sure enough. Just had to right-click the package. Look at this thing though. That's a big anchor. And it has 11 damage. That's pretty high. But also slow as heck, good lords. It does look amazing though. Look at this thing. I wonder if we could use it as decoration for a small boat somehow, without it becoming tiny inside a frame. I guess I will leave you with the rest of the nautical stuff. Now, it says it's for bats. Oh, it wasn't clothes. It's one of those XP pies. This comes really in handy. I wanted to go test the bats in a second. I have few clothes I want to try. Maybe we can boost one bat a little bit with the pies we have. Oh, sure enough, these must be profits from the shop. By shop I mean I threw a barrel with electro tubes because I'm in need of diamonds. I'm crafting some Tom stuff that require plenty of diamonds, so been trying to get some of those without going to the mines. Anyway, that's boring. Let's check out on those bats. I made it to a somewhat secure part of a cave under my base. Now I just need to find one of these little guys. That's definitely not a green bat. But this one is. Would you mind eating this yummy pie and becoming my friend? Jeez, finally. Okay, that's actually pretty cute in the hotbar. Alright, they do have an inventory for the items. So far this makes sense. We have some choices, but I have been eyeing this alchemist robe for a bit. I'm quite curious to see what those emergency potions are. Now it's an alchemist. Level 1 on everything, fair enough. There also seems to be a slot for a pouch, or maybe some sort of bundle. I wonder if that's what I read at some point about the bats being able to pick up items for us. Sure enough, just had to right-click with the XP pie. Level 2 for the bat I assume, and the alchemist class. Excellent. It does seem to raise its health too. That will probably be quite useful. Something that would be nice to know are those abilities. I mean that a bit more description on them would be nice, and even knowing if they are currently active or not even unlocked yet. Level 3 on both, and it received more health. I wonder if the experience gets split between the bat and the class. Oh, that one unlocks stuff. Effect potion. Yeah, I legit have zero idea about what that could even mean. Increased speed, that's a new one. But is that for us or for the bat is the real question. I honestly can't tell the difference. Maybe it's just more obvious at higher levels. The speed of the bat is definitely higher though, but I still can't tell what's active here and what's not. Oh yeah, awesome. That's the one I wanted. Let's look for a zombie or something and figure out what emergency potion is all about. I found an easy zombie. Go little fella, attack the bad guy. Look at him go. It's beating up that zombie. Never mind, it's dead. The good thing is that we can revive the bat endless times. Maybe the problem is that it's an alchemist. It might not be very good at killing. And apparently being chased by a zombie doesn't count as emergency for those potions. Little bat, would you mind helping out a bit before I get killed by this savage baby? I'm not sure to be honest. I thought if I was low health maybe he would drop an emergency healing potion or something like that. We have ourselves a target. Go bat, I choose you. And he is dead. Go bat. And he is dead again. There we go. What a killing machine you are. I'm so proud of you. Oh my gods, you literally now used a random night vision potion? What counts as an emergency is so hilarious. I think I will be heading to base. Maybe if I let him fly around me while I do other stuff, we might learn more about those emergency potions. The moment that I stop recording, this guy threw at me a speed potion. It has the same duration as the other one. They seem to start with 3 minutes. But it was still fairly random, maybe a minute after the other potion ran out, and I was just sitting there at my camp while checking the recording software. I was pretty much AFK. But I think that's enough of bats for now. There's a steam engine we need to finish, so let's get to it. Earlier we finished the lava generation and the nether circuit, so now we want to hook that up here in the overworld. I want to start by adding the funnels where the arms are going to drop the empty buckets. That way they can go back to the nether to get filled up. The mechanical arms are fairly simple. We can hold one and right-click the blaze burners to set them up as places where the arms should deposit the buckets. While a blue frame on the belt means that that spot is where the arm is taking the buckets from. Whether you use belts, depots, or anything, always remember that yellow means deposit onto and blue means take from. It gets super simple once you have done it a couple of times. The most important part is to set up the filters for the deposit funnels. Otherwise, it might just throw a lava bucket away. Even if we don't have all of the steam engines yet, I do want to set up all of the mechanical arms. The passive engines is meant to sustain the entire system, so I want to make sure already that that is the case and not have to expand it later on. It's a bit unnecessary, but I want to use some horizontal belts to add some brass casings to them. I think it's going to look much better than even more cogwheels. Not only it's important that the passive engine sustains the rest, we also want to make sure that the belts are moving on the right directions. And sure enough, that only took a little bit of tinkering with gearboxes and cogwheels. Now for the million-bat question. Will this work though? It does seem to work so far. The nether side works flawlessly, and the arm is doing its job. I added some extra buckets, and it's working perfectly. Even the blocky blocks seem to be reliable. The idea with this is to have the belt filled with buckets. It will never overflow or cause issues if there are never more buckets than what this small belt can hold, which is only easy to achieve if both sides have different circuits. I hope now it makes more sense what I was mentioning before. We are basically removing plenty of logistics from the equation. You see, there is quite an issue that's bothering me. I mean, we already have all of the setup, we could just finish the job and bring the rest of the steam engines, right? Look at it, it's begging to be finished. It looks so silly while half done. I mean, we now kinda have to really, probably by law. So after a nether trip and some copper farming later, do you see what I mean? Now it looks so much better. It properly looks complete. I even added some random decorations for the side. I'm glad I went bananas and decided to properly finish this power plant, even if we have zero need for this much power. Although we are obviously missing some water, so there won't be any max power with no water. To fix that, we are going to add a pipe on each of the boilers. Extend some shafts so we can bring the power upwards. And awkwardly add the pumps and cogwheels to extract water from the blocks above. But of course we overstressed it big time. Having fixed that, we just want to add a trillion trapdoors. And fill it up with water so now yes, the pumps can actually feed the boilers something more than just air. But here's where I somehow managed to break both the recording and the replay. Which is honestly impressive. I'm actually proud of myself. Oh look! Some editing magic later, and it's now complete. I did change the decorations a little bit. I found out that with a waterlogged trapdoor, the water doesn't flow down apparently, so that made it look better. And the railings on the side I think look a lot thinner than those trapdoors. I don't know, it kinda looks cooler, doesn't it? But this pretty much concludes the project. Both sides are working perfectly, and it should be able to run indefinitely from now on. Wait, hold on. This is a really nice spot for a screenshot. This could be the thumbnail for the video, I'm telling you. Wow, never mind that. This angle is even better. Look at the lights on those boilers, though. But this is where I'm going to leave it for this episode. Between one thing and another, I ended up delaying this episode by one day, but I think it was worth it. I believe this is one of my best episodes so far, and for sure it's my most thought-through video. I dislike some stuff I made at the beginning of the episode, but the entire building and the small bits in the middle was really nice, so I hope all of you enjoyed it as much as I did. Next episode, we will be building a cobble generator, and maybe start with the workstation. It's going to be quite a massive project, so I'm not sure how long the build is gonna take us. For now, I hope you Fangies take care, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.